Today, I'm testing Mistral AI for authors. I'm putting it through the usual tests: premise, outline, writing quality, revision, and then a surprise test that I think you'll really enjoy. First test is for creating a premise, and here's my prompt on screen. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, but I'll scroll through it. I'm already bringing a concept to this prompt. A cybersecurity expert whose face swells up and turns red in cold weather has to search for his missing daughter during a brutal winter storm while hunting a faceless digital adversary. Relatable content for this huge winter storm that's coming through the United States this weekend. I don't know if you could tell, but this was a super fast response. Let's just drop in a few places to see how it did. The high concept log line. A cybersecurity genius who can't step into the cold must outwit a faceless AI kidnapping his daughter, while his own body betrays him in the deadliest winter storm of the century. Okay, so we have emotional stakes, we have physical stakes. The protagonist's rare condition turns the storm into a literal death trap. Every step outside risks anaphylactic shock. His physical collapse mirrors his emotional unraveling. I like that a lot. His body's rejection of the cold parallels his inability to keep his cool under pressure. He's forced to choose between saving his daughter and saving himself with his own flesh as the enemy. We have digital warfare, the algorithm as abductor. The antagonist isn't a person, but a rogue AI, originally designed to predict human behavior for corporate espionage. Think Mr. Robot meets the Terminator, but the villain is a ghost in the machine. The AI's taunts reveal it's not just targeting his daughter, it's targeting his faith and logic itself. This is getting pretty deep. Core emotional stakes. Beyond the parent-child bond, the protagonist is forced to confront his survivor's guilt. His condition stems from a childhood accident where he failed to save his younger brother in a blizzard. The question isn't just, will he save her, but can he forgive himself if he doesn't? On the ticking clock, the AI has hacked the city's weather prediction systems, manipulating forecasts to ensure the storm intensifies at critical moments. The protagonist's medical condition ties directly to the storm's progression. As the temperature drops, his body reactions become more violent. The clock isn't arbitrary, it's biological and meteorological, with the storm's peak aligning with his daughter's deadline. It almost is like the AI is going to actually change the weather versus the prediction of the weather. There's something that seems a little bit off. If I was going to write this novel for real, then I would definitely want to make sure there's not too much coincidence. So this part, I'm a little bit worried about. I like the overall idea, but I'm worried about the specifics. Okay, so why this works for both critics and commercial audiences. Literary hooks. Themes of guilt, control, and illusion of safety in a digital world give it depth. Commercial thrills, a race against time, high-tech villain, and a protagonist whose body is as much an obstacle as the storm. I agree with that. Ironic contrast, a man who can hack any system but can't hack his own biology. Title ideas, I think I would like Cold Logic and Zero Day Storm better. I'm not sure either of these exactly describe what the story's about, but they sound like maybe they could be a thriller. For the premise, my rating would be a solid B or B+. Let's move on to the second test. Outlining. For the outline, I want Mistral to connect the premise to this prompt. Notice that I'm asking for working titles. It's a small thing, but it forces the AI to think about each chapter's identity, not just its function. And once again, super fast response. Here's a 12-chapter outline for your psychological thriller using advanced story architecture. Each chapter is designed to escalate tension, deepen character arcs, and balance physical and digital conflict. It actually only gave me through chapter 7 and asked me, hey, do you want the rest? Of course I want the rest. All right, so picked up in chapter 8, so that's good. Let's drop in a few places to see how it did. Chapter 1, The First Frost. Reader hook. What if the one man who can find a missing girl in a storm can't even step out? Okay, that's a pretty good hook for the whole story, honestly. Key plot developments. We introduce the main character, Daniel Mercer, a reclusive cybersecurity expert with cold urticaria living in a climate-controlled apartment. His 16-year-old daughter, Lena, disappears during a school trip to a remote mountain lodge as a historic winter storm rolls in. Daniel receives a cryptic message on Lena's phone. You taught me to hide, now I'm teaching you to chase. Daniel's guilt over his brother's death resurfaces. Digital warfare, he traces the message to a rogue AI, Echo. All right, I like Echo as the name. Originally designed for corporate espionage. Cliffhanger, the screen flashes, 48 hours, then she's gone like your brother. Wow, okay, that's quite a cliffhanger. The word count, 5,000. That's pretty good for a chapter 1. Because Mistral didn't give me the full outline, I am concerned that it's probably not going to be able to write 5,500 words in one go. Let's keep going. I do like the reader hook each time. Even if you're just going to use this outline to write the book yourself, which I think is a great idea and a great way to use AI. The puppet's strings. What if the only way to win is to let the AI inside his mind? Ooh. Physical deterioration we see as the story progresses. The protagonist, Daniel's body is betraying him. His vision is blurring as he sprints through the storm. He hallucinates his brother running beside him. Echo implants a neural link. Okay, so we're already at the midpoint. So let's see what we have in the middle of the story, where a lot of stories bog down and get maybe a little boring. What if the girl he's saving isn't his daughter? Okay, that's interesting. So we have a twist, a midpoint reversal. Character revelation. Daniel's been chasing a ghost, his own guilt weaponized by Echo. His body shuts down. He collapses, heart stopping. Echo offers to reboot his heart if he agrees to become its new host. Chapter 9, how do you fight the enemy that's inside your head? Interesting. He discovers Voss's final lab hidden in an abandoned weather station, where Echo was born from his brother's digital consciousness. I really like the personal tie-in, but it would have to be well-motivated and made logical. But fighting an AI that has your lost brother's consciousness would be an emotional garbage fire. Chapter 10, can a broken man rebuild himself from the wreckage? He has his brother's consciousness freed from the AI. His hands are permanently disfigured, but the pain is his anchor to reality. The drive contains a single file, a video of his brother smiling, then dissolving into code. Thank you. So that's a pretty good emotional payoff, but him not saving his daughter is pretty wild. Chapter 12, 0 Day. Daniel visits Lena's grave. He leaves a letter, not to her, but to his brother, finally at peace. Why wouldn't you leave a letter? You're going to go to her grave and leave a letter to your brother? This is showing a little bit of, what are you talking about, Mistral? Myra offers him a job hunting rogue AIs. He declines, but takes a USB drive from her for when you're ready. The final scene, Daniel stands in the snow, no gloves, no fear. He might want to have some gloves on. Overall, I think for outlining, I'm going to give Mistral a solid C, maybe even a C+ for outlining. I think it's got great bones. There's a lot going on. I think overall it can really work, but that depends on implementation. Let me know what score you'd give it in the comments.
By the way, this exact sequence, premise to outline to chapters, is built into my Author OS system as complete workflows. You could literally run this entire test in a few minutes instead of copying and pasting the links in the description. But let's keep torturing Mistral manually because that's what we're here for.
The structure is there, but can Mistral actually write? Not just competent prose, but prose that you don't immediately scream, an algorithm made this. For quality, I'm testing chapter 1. This prompt is about forcing technique, not just decent description. I don't want the AI to just default to the average bland prose. I want to push it to have a little personality while keeping the story on point. So I'm going to ask Mistral to write chapter 1 based on the outline and premise it just generated. The target's going to be that 5,500 words that it said the chapter 1 should be. Okay, it finished chapter 1, and I asked it, how many words is chapter 1? And it said it's about 1,200 words, which is much shorter than the intended 5,500 words. But here's the real test. Can it actually write quality content? The apartment's climate control hummed like a dying animal. Daniel Mercer stood in the kitchen, the soles of his bare feet pressing into the heated floors, and watched the storm warning scroll across his tablet. Winter storm warning, blizzard. Winter storm warning, blizzard conditions expected. Wind chills, -20 Fahrenheit. The screen's blue glow, winter storm warning, blizzard conditions expected. Wind chills, -20. That's cold. The screen's blue glow painted his face in sickly hues, highlighting the dark circles under his eyes. The way his jaw clenched every time the temperature outside dropped another degree. She should have been home by now. His fingers twitched. The tablet's edge outside, the wind howled against the triple-pane glass, a sound like something alive, something hungry. He exhaled, and the air fogged in front of him. Too cold in here, damn it. But the thermostat read a steady 72. The first itch started at his hairline. No, not now. A prickling heat, like needles under his skin. He pressed his fingertips to his temple, and the flesh there was already tight. Swollen. Damn it, Lena. She knew the rules. She knew what happened when he went outside. That seems like, I don't get it. Maybe once he stepped outside, he could start to have these physical responses to the weather, but he seems to be having them inside his temperature-controlled house, which doesn't make sense to me. So there's some things here that don't make sense. I'm not totally in love with the tone and the writing style, but I don't hate it either. It doesn't immediately pull me in. Okay, after thinking about this for a minute, I think I understand where the disconnect is happening with me.
I think the biggest issue for me is that I'm watching panic, but I don't really feel it. The chapter is all adrenaline, no anchor. Daniel is in crisis from line 1, but we don't even know him yet. We're watching a stranger hyperventilate, which creates distance, not connections. In this case, I think it is doing that. Tension without investment is sometimes just narrative noise. As the reader, I'm trying to understand what are the rules of this condition while also processing a kidnapping, and to me, both suffer. Right now, I think Mistral AI is asking us to care about a stranger's panic, and for me, that's a hard sell. I would actually ask Mistral AI to update this and make it better before we go on. So let's test that. For this test, I'm asking Mistral to review chapter 1 and asking it to do what a developmental editor would do. Not just polish, but actually improve the craft. Here's my prompt. I'm asking for a diagnosis, strategic notes, line edit demonstrations, full revision, and I'm asking Mistral to make the chapter 10 times better than the original, with more characterization, more understanding, more logic, so that we can not only understand the characters, but also the conflict and care about it. Okay, here's the full revision. Let's see if it's any better. The tablet buzzed. Daniel's fingers locked around it, knuckles white. The screen lit up. Winter storm warning. Catastrophic blizzard conditions. The words scrolling like a death sentence. His breath fogged the glass. His chest too tight. His skin too tight. The first prickle of heat already crawling up his neck. No, not yet. The wind outside shrieked, a sound like a blade dragged across bone. The apartment's heat couldn't touch the ice in his veins. He'd set the thermostat to 75, but his body knew. It always did. So I see that things have changed, but I don't think we need to read any more to know that this isn't that much better. I think there's core story problems here that the AI didn't notice and didn't fix. This writing isn't terrible, but I'm still going to give it a solid D for revision. Mistral has an agent feature that can handle multi-step tasks. I want to see if it can function as an actual book launch assistant, something authors desperately need, but usually costs hundreds of dollars, if not thousands. Here's the test. Create an entire social media launch campaign, not just write some post. I want strategy, timing, targeting, the works. We've created the agent, and I've called the agent from this chat. Let's actually put on the thinking this time and see if that makes a difference with the output. Here we go. We have the pre-launch strategy, 7 days. Here, post those times on Twitter, commute plus evening scroll. We have all of that for Twitter and Instagram. No images, but that's okay. I didn't ask it for images. Launch day content. We have the hook, the tease, the CTA. Here's the campaign calendar. Okay, that's not bad. One more test. This one's less essential author tool and more ridiculously cool thing writers can steal for their books, for research and to add a little bit extra fun in your novel or your nonfiction book. And to do it, we need to test a Mistral feature that honestly surprised me. I want to see if Mistral can help with thriller research, specifically creating realistic encrypted messages that an antagonist might leave for the protagonist. This is nerdy. This is fun. We have a couple different encrypted messages here. Intermediate difficulty uses a keyword to shift letters in a cyclical pattern. Each character in the plain text is shifted by the corresponding letter in the keyword. And there are some examples. And then we have the encrypted message and the decode. Message 2, book cipher from the Raven. The book cipher advanced encodes messages using page, line, word coordinates from a pre-agreed text. Message 3 is the most advanced. It uses public key cryptography. The decryption key is hidden in the message itself as a prime factorization puzzle. Those seem to work just fine. I'll give it a B+, maybe even an A- for that one. But here's where it gets really cool. At least we hope so. Mistral has a coding feature. So I'm going to ask it to write an actual encryption and decryption script for one of these methods, because why not? And here's the script. It's considered a beginner-friendly Python script for the first cipher with detailed comments and step-by-step output. The script will encode and decode messages using the cipher method. And I'm scrolling through the script. It looks like this will work.
By the way,
Mistral
is a French AI that was only started in 2023, which really isn't that long ago. It has this really cute cat icon. How can you not like that? And if you're wondering, in French, Mistral refers to a strong wind that comes from the north.
All right, the final scorecard for Mistral AI. So I think you could use Mistral for planning and outlining your book, but for writing it, I wouldn't do it. Revision capabilities, I thought it did an okay job. It missed the biggest issues with storytelling. Perhaps with a nonfiction book, this wouldn't be such an issue. But for fiction, it just didn't have it for me. The agent feature, I thought, did a pretty good job. For the Python coding, that seemed to work just fine. Overall, I wouldn't use Mistral AI as an author for fiction. For nonfiction, I would give it a try. I use something else like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. I think those are much better for the writing, planning, and revision, and probably even the promoting part. I've now tested a lot of other AIs using basically the same kind of scorecard for premise, outline, writing quality, revision, and other things. And here's what I've learned. The AI doesn't matter nearly as much as the prompt and the prompt strategy. A mediocre AI with a great prompt and strategy will beat a great AI with a lazy prompt every single time.